Kia ora koutou. Here's a quick rundown on Ōtautahi Christchurch future transport strategy. Christchurch City Council's 30-year strategy for transport. You can also read about our identified challenges, vision and goals for transport and the full draft strategy, which is linked below. In the presentation, we'll cover the purpose and scope of the strategy, what we're building on from the previous 2012 strategic plan, and then we'll follow up with an overview of the content that's in the strategy. First of all, the purpose and scope. So the purpose of the draft strategy is to provide the high-level direction for the Council's transport program over a 30-year horizon. It guides both our transport delivery and planning programs and provides a framework for implementation through our annual and long-term plans. Transport is by its very nature city shaping, so the strategy also ensures that we're planning in lockstep with land use planning and responding to emerging risks such as natural hazards. Our roads and streets are among our most valuable public spaces. We all use them every day. Another important purpose of this plan is to ensure that we're really clear about our long-term vision, goals and directions with our residents, local businesses and our funding partners in central government. The scope of the strategy is threefold. It's at a network and whole of district level. It cuts into certain areas where growth or hazard risk is anticipated and transport plays a key role, such as along public transport corridors or where climate hazards are going to occur over time. And the draft strategy also considers the need for both safe and efficient movement on the network and also the role of streets as places for people and businesses to thrive. The draft strategy would replace the 2012 Christchurch Strategic Transport Plan. Under that plan, a lot has been achieved. This includes a significant focus on post-earthquake recovery and rebuild across the network. We've completed 60% of our major cycle routes, and alongside that, there's been a 40% increase in cycle trips on the network since 2017. There are entirely new ways of travelling. We couldn't have anticipated that there would be. By July of this year, there have been 4.9 million rideshare, scooter and e-bike trips on the network, travelling 8.2 million kilometres, which is huge. We've also made improvements to our public transport infrastructure. Public transport usage was significantly impacted by both the earthquake and COVID-19 and the COVID-19 pandemic. We're only now really beginning to see a return to pre-quake levels, with usage in 2024 being the highest seen in more than a decade, which is a great foundation for us to continue to build on. We've also regenerated our central city streets and the Ōtautahi Avon River corridor. Safety improvements have been made across the network, and there's been a 14% reduction in total deaths and serious injuries between 2012, when the last plan was adopted, to 2023. Investing in transport infrastructure requires long-term commitments, so many of the elements that remain works in progress that we'll continue to build on throughout the life of this strategy. The next slide gives a bit of an overview of the opportunities and challenges that we're planning for over the next 30 years. A big one is the transition to a low emissions transport system. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges, and the Council has set ambitious targets to achieve a 50% reduction in gross greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2025. Land transport currently contributes to around 38% of our district's greenhouse gas emissions and has the potential to play a core role in how we meet our climate targets. We also need to manage natural hazard risks. Many areas of Christchurch and Banks Peninsula are at risk from natural hazards, including earthquakes, tsunami, and the effects of climate change. Our roads and footpaths face threats such as structural damage from earthquakes, coastal inundation, flooding, slips, temperature changes affecting surface quality. So over the life of this strategy, we're going to need to balance reacting to natural hazard events with proactive planning and adaptation to known risks. We also need to manage relatively significant population growth. So over the next 30 years, Christchurch and our neighbouring districts are projected to grow significantly, and many urban areas will continue to become more intensively developed. This growth will have two main effects on our streets. More people will need to travel within the same amount of road space, and streets will be increasingly used for a greater variety of community uses. We also want to continue to improve health and safety outcomes on our network. Improving safety for all transport users is a high priority for the Council. We want everyone to get where they're going safely, regardless of how they're travelling, every time. With the 14% reduction in deaths and serious injuries on our roads since 2012, we're making really good progress. but there's still much to do. We also have cost pressures to deal with. Transport infrastructure isn't cheap. So as a council, we want to manage ratepayers' money wisely, and we'll be looking for cost-effective solutions and really effective partnering with central government to achieve what we need to achieve over the next 30 years. The next slide is about our vision for transport. So 30-year vision for this draft strategy is our transport system is central to a more vibrant, prosperous and climate resilient district. It shapes and connects Ōtautahi, Christchurch and Te Pātika or Rakaihotu Banks Peninsula and enables everyone to move around safely and easily. So alongside the vision, we've got a mix of transport strategy goals. To achieve our vision, we'll need a mix of continuous improvement and more transformational changes. The following transport goals will guide our actions. The first goal is about well-managed transport assets. The council manages a wide range of assets across our network, including roads and footpaths, cycleways, bridges, retaining walls and signage. Managing our transport network assets efficiently and effectively and looking for innovative technologies and solutions to do this is the backbone of the council's transport strategy. If we do it well, it'll result in an accessible, resilient and safe transport network, and it'll also enable us to get better value for money from our investments over their lifetime. The second goal is a more resilient transport network. As we have experienced, the damage from large earthquake events can severely impact the functioning of our critical infrastructure. Extreme weather events are also increasingly impacting the transport network, leading to service disruptions and unplanned spending to maintain infrastructure. The draft strategy outlines how we plan to build more resilience into our network assets and develop our transport network climate adaptation approach and plan. Banks Peninsula, with its coastal extent and hilly terrain, is particularly vulnerable to climate risk. The third goal is for a safer transport network. Our safety goal strategy involves focusing our safety program on areas with the highest risk of harm, using crash data to identify the highest risk areas and implementing and maintaining safer infrastructure to address the risk. We also rely on feedback from our communities and schools to inform our road safety priorities. Collaborating with our road safety partners on issues like road safety promotion and enforcement is another really important part of our strategy. The fourth goal is for an efficient transport network. Journey time reliability is particularly important for economic and other priority activities such as public transport and emergency services. Managing congestion will become increasingly challenging over the next 30 years as our population and that of neighbouring districts grow. This goal includes directions to prioritise the movement of economic and other priority activities, and also to investigate ways that we can manage the network more proactively as use increases with population growth. The fifth goal is around genuine transport choices for everyone. This one's about improving the quality of alternative low-emission transport options on our network, and it's one of the most important sets of actions that we can take over the next 30 years. Genuine transport choices will help reduce transport emissions, manage congestion as we grow, and enable an inclusive access for all transport users. Areas of focus include working with our partners at Environment Canterbury to significantly improve our public transport system, continuing to build a safer, more connected network for walking, cycling and other micromobility such as e-scooters, and supporting residents and schools to try new ways of travelling. Goal number 6 is about transport contributing to a really vibrant, healthy and livable city. Our transport network plays an integral role in supporting and shaping our future urban form. As our urban population grows and competition for street space increases, a well-planned transport network is really crucial for city development. Over the past decade, there's been an increasing focus on designing and building better streets and neighbourhoods for people, notably in our central city. Our draft strategy includes finishing what we've started in the central city, such as planned street improvements around the remaining central city anchor projects. It also includes planning for growth along core public transport corridors and enhancing our streets and neighbourhoods as our city becomes more intensively developed. Finally, our implementation approach. As a strategy is a direction-setting document, more detailed implementation planning will occur after adoption, and it'll be costed and delivered through annual and long-term plans. Residents will have many further opportunities to provide detailed feedback through these consultation processes. The draft, however, does propose a strategic pipeline approach to guide implementation. This includes the need for continuous improvement, doing the basics better, and enhancing our transport network assets to achieve better value for money and improve safety, resilience and efficiency outcomes. It also includes investing in our strategic foundations, That means delivering the strategic transport programs that will underpin our growth, resilience and climate change response, such as the actions to improve our public transport network. We also need to keep planning on the horizon, and that's looking ahead to grow well as a district, manage emerging risks, and help shape our future delivery pipeline. The work we need to do to adapt our network to climate hazards is a really good example of that. All the feedback that you provide through this consultation process will be considered before Council make a decision on this strategy. Learn more below, and if you have any more feedback, tell us what you think.